They know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet.
Certainly. 1933 was the first recovery in Europe, in Magenta, Italy. They recovered a partially intact vehicle. The Italian government moved it to a secure air base in Italy for the rest of kind of the fascist regime until 1944, 1945. And, the Pope Pius XII back-channeled that.
So the Vatican was involved?
Yeah, and told the Americans what the Italians had, and we ended up scooping it.
So let me be very clear about this. You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet?
Certainly.
Let's talk about how the Vatican is hiding a time-traveling device from us. It's called a chronovisor, and it was developed in the 1960s by this gentleman in the middle, Father Ernetti, and these two other guys who ended up working for NASA. This guy over here just happened to be a Nazi before he went to NASA, but we'll talk about that later. In the 1970s, Father Ernetti took a boat ride, and he happened to be on the boat with another priest. They got to gabbing, and Father Ernetti spilled the beans about the chronovisor. He said it was very real how he had went back in time, and he had witnessed the crucifixion of Christ. He had witnessed the last few days of Christ. He had witnessed the final supper. He had witnessed the fall of Sodom and Gomorrah. Very heavy claims, right? Father Ernetti had proof, though. He provided the blueprints for it and told him exactly how it worked. Now, reportedly, this device had several antennas that would pick up on light and sound waves throughout multiple frequencies and translate these frequencies into a screen that would show a past event, a present event, or a future event. Now, in the wrong hands, think about how powerful that could be. You can witness anybody at any time, at any point. Of course, this was all supposed to be a secret because seeing anybody you want at any point in time is pretty dangerous in the wrong hands. So Vatican told Father Ernetti and everyone else involved, do not speak of this. It took Father Ernetti 10 years before he had this boat conversation to tell anyone about it. And then in 1988, the Vatican released a decree stating anyone found to be using a device like the chronovisor would be excommunicated from the church. 2002, the man that took the boat ride with Father Ernetti released a tell-all book about the chronovisor and went to his bed believing in the chronovisor. Now, we all know the Vatican has their Chamber of Secrets. The rumor is that this is locked in the Chamber of Secrets.
This was actually very weird because it was a public occurrence and all of a sudden it was wiped clean. Like everyone stopped talking about it, news stopped reporting about it, but it happened in 2007 when an orange flying disc flew over the Vatican and stayed there for 8 minutes. This disc hovered for 8 minutes and then disappeared. It was believed that this was a real, actual UFO sighting. What makes it so creepy is that the Vatican has multiple documents about UFOs and aliens being real. It is said that they actually have proof that aliens helped the ancient Sumerian in creating the wheel, irrigation systems, and even the ability to count time down to seconds and minutes. So this report was in 2007, and it was reported in a photograph, multiple photographs that mysteriously disappeared after this event in 2007 when an orange disc was hovering over the Vatican and just stayed there for a certain amount of time and left. This is an actual document that a general put out about UFOs and the Vatican. The print is really small, so I can't read it to you guys, but I will do a separate video on this in its entirety because this to me is the most interesting fact. But let's move on to the next one. Vatican holds some history that is very, very dark, as well as sinister in nature and just too crazy to be true. Do you know that they actually dug up a corpse of a pope and put him on trial? Yes, Pope Stephen VI ordered the exhumption of his predecessor, Pope Formosus, so that his corpse could stand trial for various charges. It is said that during this trial, an earthquake actually struck the Vatican, shaking the very grounds that they were holding this trial on, yet he kept going. They held the Pope accountable to a multitude of charges, and it said that that man who is yelling and screaming actually he was visibly insane. They said he just went on a rant. He was yelling as if the man was alive and could respond, but of course he could not defend himself, but somehow they said he was fit to stand trial. Here's an article where it says that in the middle of that trial, the earthquake shook the room, and this was a clear sign of God according to embellishments of later commentators. So people who recorded this, when they were jotting it down, they said what was going on. So they found him guilty of stealing the throne from the Pope who was actually putting him on trial, but the madness did not end there. So after Stephen's victory of convicting a man, his victory didn't last long at all. Actually, what they did was they took him, 3 of his fingers, threw him in prison where he was actually I wish that was the worst to come. So his predecessor after him, now that we know 2 of them are 2 weeks later, the next pope was, and only 1 day after that pope was, the next pope was. So that's 4 popes that were in a less than 2-month span. The Vatican is actually built over a necropolis. Yes, so where thousands of people are praying, right underneath them are thousands of corpses that lie in a necropolis, which is basically a large graveyard, but it contains tombs and it is ancient. For all my visual besties, up top is known as the Vatican, or St. Peter's Basilica to be exact, and below where you see the blue, those are the tombs that you can actually tour. Yeah, so including these tombs, only 5% of the underground of the entire Vatican City has been unearthed and explored, which means we're down there with those past people. There's some other too. Oh, and they have a lot of famous people that are buried in these tombs. St. Peter is said to be buried in these tombs. If you don't know who he is, he was one of Jesus' 12 apostles, along with a Holy Roman Emperor and a Queen of Sweden. They have a stolen Egyptian monument right in the center of the Vatican. The Vatican obelisk was stolen from the Egyptians. Not only did Rome siege these obelisks from Egypt, they actually exorcised them while putting them in the middle of St. Peter's Square. Don't believe me? There's the document. I don't know why you have to exorcise an Egyptian relic after you stole it, but whatever. Oh, here's that obelisk, and they actually have Egyptian carvings still on them, and there are only 6 left in Egypt. So this one being in Rome, I don't know. So the obelisk was moved in 1586 because of where it was at. It was covered in, you know what, I'm not gonna say it, but it's what runs through everyone's body. The liquid stuff, the red stuff. Yeah, the base of it was surrounded in that, so they actually moved.
This is CNN. The Vatican has tightened up its guidance on recognizing supernatural phenomena such as apparitions of the Virgin Mary or seemingly soaked crucifixes. The new guidelines replace rules drawn up in 1978. And basically it says that they shouldn't act independently, blah, blah. The changes made by the Vatican's doctrinal office aim to bring the Church up to date in responding to the swift spread of claims of apparitions online. According to the document released by the Vatican Friday, the new procedure will allow for faster decisions while respecting popular devotion when it comes to assessing claims of the supernatural phenomenon. The Vatican said, only for the Holy Office to express a different decision later. In other instances, a bishop might decide whether or not an occurrence was supernatural, only for his successor to conclude the opposite, the statement continued. The new Vatican guidelines say, as a rule, bishops and church officials will not declare whether alleged phenomenon are supernatural or not, leaving this decision to the Pope. Head of the DDF, Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, told reporters that often these events have led to the great richness of spiritual fruits, growth in faith, devotion, fraternity, and service. So basically, the guidelines for these apparitions are that before, someone could decide if it was legit or not, and now nobody has the authority to say it unless it's brought to the attention of the Pope and he decides.
Vatican Secret Archives is on this list. It is a very real 53 miles of shelving holding 35,000 volumes of catalogs, 12 centuries worth of documents on history, religion, and who knows what. But there's a lot of mystery behind these secret archives because they're absolutely not public. You have to go through this really thorough vetting process and be over the age of 75 to even look at them. And they keep all these documents in this really fortress-looking part of the Vatican. A lot of people have conspiracies about these archives, like the Catholic Church knowing about aliens, or other things like how people think history is written by the winners. Maybe they have documentations on what actually happened in history. There's like contradictions of what we've been taught. But you know, if there wasn't anything in there that needs to be hidden, why would they keep them a secret? But yeah, people think that they have things like secret war crimes documented in there, mysterious teachings from before the Great Flood, histories of great civilizations that got reset, and some people even think that the Library of Alexander wasn't burned but was moved to the Vatican. But what I found kind of strange is that the Vatican Secret Archives is not technically owned by the Catholic Church, but actually by the Pope. So it's very strange.
The Vatican is sitting on top of some shady secrets, and they're sitting in front of something that looks shady as hell too. Let's just put that out there. But I also think that they are hiding alien life from us, and let's get into the reasons why. Now, the Vatican owns the LBT sitting on top of Mount Graham. LBT stands for Large Binocular Telescope, and it's actually the world's largest optical telescope. So if anyone was going to be able to see alien life, it would be the Vatican. Mount Graham is extremely sacred to the Native Americans in that area, and we'll get into that into another video. But it also is known as a hot spot for alien activity or UFO sightings. That's not it. On top of having this large telescope in an area that is known for UFO spots, spottings, they also have another telescope that they share with the University of Arizona dubbed Lucifer 1. It provides a powerful tool to gain spectacular insights into the universe, from the Milky Way to extreme distant galaxies. So again, I say, if anyone was going to be able to see alien life in our skies, it would be the Vatican. For my next piece of evidence, Pope Francis literally said he would baptize little green Martians if they asked him to. Now, why would he say something like this? He is the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, and if aliens are real, it brings all of religion into question, so I'm confused. But I'm not stopping there. This is painted inside the Vatican. Please look at the top left and the top right-hand corner. What do you see? Those look like little spaceships to me, but let's get closer. You're telling me those aren't little men in spaceships? Bull. And then this is carved into the side of the Vatican. That looks like a little alien man, right? That doesn't look like a normal man. And then let's just go back to what they're sitting in front of. What the heck is that? That looks like something straight out of an alien sci-fi movie.
She disappeared without a trace, but the Vatican might have taken her.
Let's talk about how the Vatican is hiding a time-traveling device from us.
It's called a chronovisor.
You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet.
Certainly.